Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Avatar, The Last Airbender, North and South Library Edition comic book. This is all three parts into one, with all the commentaries from the writers and the um, illustrators, and I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, you guys got to check this out. This is a must read. It is amazing, awesome work by Glenn Yang. I'm sorry. Just oh my god. All the Avatar books are amazing. I want to also talk about something because there's a lot of confusion out there about the Avatar comic books. The Avatar comic books are continuing, but this was the last comic book that Glenn Yang and I don't know how to pronounce the illustrator's name, but it will be their this will be the last comic book they work on for the Avatar: The Last Airbender. They also do not work on the Legends of Korra comic books. That is done by a different writer and a different illustrator. But the people that were working on Avatar for the past 5 comic books, because this is their 5th one, basically they are leaving. This is the last one, and he actually does write a farewell piece on the comic book, on the back of the comic book, or at the end of the story here. In Balance is supposed to be the next one. I did see the cover of I'm Balance, and the I don't know what's gonna happen with me on that, because it's not the illustrations don't look nearly as good as these. The reason why I love the Avatar comic book so much, as a guy who doesn't read that much, is because of the art, the frickin' the presentation, the writing style, because always these comic books always felt like I was still watching the television show, even though it's a continuation of which is why I also like reading these, is because they're a continuation of the television show, not like some of the mangas where it's just a retelling of the same story. This is a continuation, and I really like that. And I hope they continue that with the new comic books as well, which is supposedly the plot is the next one is going to be about benders and non-benders, which is probably going to lead to to Republic City, or how Republic City became what it is today, or in Legends of Korra. But oh my god, this is just amazing. Now again, library edition gives you stuff that you can't see, but like I said, all these right here, this is it. Like, this is like the last one that he is going to be doing. And look, you can see some of the art designs that they originally did for North and South here. But I mean, you could tell they really put their time into this one, because this was their last one that they were gonna do, so they really put a lot of texture into this. Like I said, that's the cover right there. Look at this. Just they even show some shots here, stuff that I guess didn't make it in. Because they talk about it. Polar bear changed from a snow lion or a leopard. Just some really good scene shots in here. But you got Handu, I'm sorry, you got Akoda, which Sokka's dad. Damn it. Hakoda of the Southern Water Tribe, Sokka's dad. Toph, Katara, Sokka. Ironically enough, they did this, which I thought this was like the best, like, right here, and this isn't even in the story because Azula's not in the story. Um, and I guess they just wanted to draw them one last time as like a farewell. As you can see, thank you so much right here. This is like a little another piece. This is a piece from the illustrator. I'll get to the writer's farewell piece soon as well. But I do want to review this book, obviously, because this was a really good book. And so we're going to review this. So now some of the stuff in here, because there's a lot of new characters that are introduced into the story, so some of these names I probably am not pronouncing correctly, but I'm just going based on, I'm pronouncing them based on the way I'm looking at them and interpreting them. So if I say them wrong, it's not intentional. It's just, that's until I actually hear an actual pronunciation. Obviously, I can't get a pronunciation because I'm not watching this on television. I'm reading this, so I can't really, get into, how to figure that out. So basically, North and South. For the first part of this story, it's basically Sokka and Katara coming back to the Southern Water Tribe for the first time. No Aang, pretty much no one else besides Katara and Sokka are in this. They basically go in by themselves for this. And it's vastly different. You see Gran right there. He's married to Paku now. That was something that was discussed, at the in Avatar, and I just love the connection that the writers and the illustrators did here, and I hope we still get that with the new illustrators and writers. But I don't know, man. Like it's just always it's kind of bittersweet right now reviewing this right now, because this is the last comic book that these writers and illustrators did, and from the cover I seen from the new one that's going to be coming out this October, I'm kind of a little worried from what I'm seeing, because it doesn't feel the same. You could see the time they put into this. They put into all these little things here. There's this big, basically city hall type thing now that they got. Sokka is all for the changes because that's the plot. This story kind of reminds me of like stuff that's going on today in the real world. They talk about like the debate between customs. How the South, they have their own tradition, and now the North is coming in and putting their own spin on things, and basically, getting rid of their tradition. And a lot of the Southerners don't like this. They don't like, their territory being changed. And so Katara, doesn't like this. She's not really for this, but as we're going to find out in the plot here, there are villains that want to basically take out, Katara and Sokka's father, aka Hakoda. And so because of that, obviously Katara's not going to go for, him, but that's, one of the things is she doesn't agree with him, but his radical thinking, but, she's not for, this, basically this, changing stuff that's going on. And also, there was also some things, which I'm going to show later on, but there was also things in the story that was like, about protests, of like Southerners just basically protesting anyone that's a Northerners, calling them foreigners and stuff like that, which is basically a sign of immigration today. Get these people out of the country or whatever, and then that's basically what they kind of do, saying foreigners and stuff like that. So there was a lot of things going on with this story that kind of ties in with real life logic today that goes on in the world today, which I thought was a really interesting dynamic. So one of the new characters that was introduced into the show was this girl here, who is helping out, Sokka and Katara's father, try to help and build. And so she explains that they're basically design waterbenders, not actual fighting waterbenders. So, you get these guys who Katara actually beat up earlier, by the way, because they were being thugs. I wanted to, where is it? Hold on. I think I missed it. So basically, the new characters right here, because this is, I'm just gonna say it, Melina, I believe that's the name. Is Melina here, and she is the younger, or she is the brother of this person who is this, which I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe the way to pronounce it is Melinquil. I'm just going to call it Melenquil. And like I said, I don't really have the pronunciation for that, so I don't know how to say that name. So that's why I'm going with that. So Melina and Melinquil basically are helping Hakoda to try and, rebuild the South. And that's where the story sets. She has all these plans, all these different plans, which, as you can see, Sokka is for, but Katara is completely against it. She is not for this whole thing at all. But as you'll see later on, there will be a crossroad when it comes to this. You got your little these guys, these those that are attacking people, which these are waterbenders that are for the villains right now of this, and you get some cool illustrations here that I just thought were just really good. Like, you could tell they really put their time into this one because they knew this was their last one. But I mean, there was just a lot of Easter eggs for this, and I can't go through every page, obviously, but so this guy is the villain, and he tried to recruit Katara and Sokka, and it didn't work, obviously. His name is Glenn. I'm just call it Glennon, because I don't really know how to say his name. So Glennon here, they're a bunch of people that are Southerners. I don't even remember half these people in the original TV series, but somehow they magically show up. And they're Southerners, and they basically do not want the North take over, basically. That's the whole crossroad here. Sokka does not want this, and Katara, though, does not agree with, the stuff that's going on. She does not agree with his radical thinking, so she obviously is not for it either. So they escape. Got this old man who's a chi blocker, by the way. So here's the. Well, this was actually pretty funny too, because they're kind of leopard reindeers or whatever. This was actually supposed to be a polar bear, but it was changed because they didn't want it to look like, I guess, Legends of Korra's Naka. So that's why they changed it to basically a winter cheetah reindeer type thing. So, they talk about, these certain issues, and you get a couple flashbacks from previous comic book events with Aang. Katara's wondering what is to do, and then we get to this. This was the end of part 1 of this. Katara and Sokka basically walking in on their father, basically kissing Melina. Now, again, technically this isn't wrong because Katara and Sokka's mom have been dead for years. Because as we all know, she was killed by the Fire Nation. So technically this isn't exactly wrong, but the fact that they did it kind of surprised me. Because it was just like at the end of this, I was like I didn't even see this guy. Like my mouth dropped. Like I was just like, holy shit, they really did this. So yeah, this actually happened. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. But what we later find out too, which you see some of the guards here, trying to take over the Southern radicals, basically. Also, again, the whole part 1, Aang, Toph, none of them were in there. They do come in part 2, though. What we find out, though, about Melina is that she changed her mind. Because, basically, Melina was basically following what her brother would say. Her brother was a radical thinker that, basically, wanted the North to take over the South and make them, basically be like the North in the South. And that's what Melina was kind of doing too, but Melina changed her ways when she got into a relationship with Sokka and Katara's, father. When that happened, she changed, and she now didn't want to do this. Oh, by the way, this is when Toph makes her appearance, too, by the way. I just want to say, this was just awesome seeing an Earthbender, or I should say, just seeing Toph, in general, in a winter, outfit, winter coat, in an Earthbender format. I don't think we've ever seen that, really. And I just liked how they did this. Now, Toph was basically coming here because now she owns, the company from Smokes and Shadows. And she was actually helping out the Melina, as like a sponsor. And Melenquilt on, like, fundings and stuff like that to build stuff. And also, when she later finds out about this, she said she would have never supported it. She didn't know this, of course. They have a festival, and you can see this. She would actually betray him, by the way, but not until after Glennon gets captured, because Glennon actually does get captured and is put in prison. And this is also where Aang comes in, because Aang is finally here. You can see Katara hugging Aang. Um, so there's a lot of good things. We find out this stuff that's going on. Melina, is confronted about this. She basically admits, yes, we were originally going to do this, but I changed my ways once, I basically was in a relationship with, your dad. And so Katara's kind of pissed because she's like, you only changed because of, you fell in love. That's all, So, then you get Glennon here, who's basically, stole the plans. So he's like trying to figure stuff out, trying to basically convince everyone, this is not the right move and whatnot. So, eventually, the battle breaks out. Toph with her metal arms there, which was really cool. You could see Toph doing some epic shit. Just like I said, a lot of great fight scenes going on here. Like I said, Melina can waterbend, but she's not really a waterbender attacker. Like, she's a waterbender, but she's not trained to like bend like for attack. She's trained to bend like work stuff, buildings and stuff like that, making buildings and stuff like that. She's even said that she's not an attacker. She's not an attacker, she's a builder. So she's not really a good bender in that, field. So she was easily, overpowered. So now this was a big fight here. It was a very good fight, well animated. Like I said, it looked like he was gonna die. If it wasn't for Katara's healing ability, he probably would have died because he was massively wounded. Toph basically apologizes to Katara and said she would have never supported this if like she had known what was going on. So, here it is. Glennon's in jail, basically, and this is the girl who was basically at the side of, Katara and Sokka's, father, right? And she basically frees him. She gives him the key and stuff. So, she is for his ideals. Even though she's a guard, she betrays him. And now we also get to see some of the new characters, that we've seen from the beginning. And this is another thing. I hope these characters stay in, too, because these characters were only put in the comic books. So I hope we do see the characters, the metal benders that Toph trained. Because, even though they were in the television show, I do feel they're like a premiere thing now in the series now. So, and that's the one thing I'm worried about with now new writers in the frame now. It's really, hard to kind of, with the changes and all that. So, you got Toph, really being more of a command here. Like I said earlier, the foreigners out. Ironically enough, I believe this is Korean symbols. I'm not exactly sure if this is Japanese or Korean. I'm pretty sure it's Korean though. But I'm not too sure. It could be Japanese though. I can't really tell, but it basically says foreigners out. I wish they would just put it in English. I mean, I know they're trying to do a foreign type diversity type thing, but I wish they would just put it in English because this is for an English audience. That's just my whole like gripe with this. For Avatar, they did that, but for Legends of Korra, they didn't. I still to this day don't understand why. Um, so now Aang is basically showing like waterbenders because there's these two waterbenders. Basically, they don't want to like bend, or they're in denial. Like they keep saying that they're not benders or whatever, when in reality they are. Um, and Paku's basically trying to train him, and Aang, convinces them how fun it is. And like they're all scared because they're still terrified about the Fire Nation and stuff like that. That was what they were always told by, is they can't waterbend or the Fire Nation will take them out or whatever. My whole question about this is, Katara had said in the series that she was the only waterbender left. Now, if that was true, then these two should not be waterbenders because they claimed they were from the South. So, I'm sorry, but it's only been like 2 years since the events of the TV show ended when this comic book takes place. So these girls would only be 2 years younger. Obviously, this one has to be at least 8, so she would have been 6 during the war. So I'm not buying this right now. That's just my opinion. That the way they're saying this is that, oh yeah, they we've all had these waterbenders all this time. It just doesn't make sense. So now we have the world leaders. As you can see, Foreigner's out. You can see the Earth King. You got Prince Zuko. You got Bosco the bear. They're trying to help out the support and whatnot. Eventually, Glennon busts out. He talks to this guard, and he asks him, this whole future and stuff like that. And the guard basically says, I believe we can do both. And he says, wrong answer. And he busts himself out and takes out the guard. So, you see this guard who's supposed to be guarding these people, and she basically betrays, Sokka and Katara's father. Hold up. So, basically, you got them talking still about the whole thing they're going to do, their plans with the world leaders. And then that's when they get attacked by Glennon. Foreigner's out. It's just a really good. I was on the edge of my seat, or edge of my, reading this, and just in awe. Once we got done with part 1, I was like, I want to read more because it was just this good of a story, and it just kept me on the edge of my seat. You see Toph, playing with her metal bending still. Toph, metal bending a hand and slapping the guard was just, kind of, I thought, bossly. For the tribe. They do not end up getting the Sokka and Katara's father because Aang saves the day. However, somebody from the tribe that Glennon is a part of got the Earth King. And so they use the Earth King as a bargaining chip. You can see Bosco's kind of upset. So they want to do an exchange at this bridge, which is the bridge basically of no return, basically, apparently. So the bridge of no return. So they basically, are going to do a switch, Sokka and Katara's father for the Earth King, which is basically a trap. See Aang kissing Katara. They have the plan. Sokka comes up with this plan because he is the plan guy. They all get chi blocked, by chi blocking their bending ability, including Sokka. And Saga actually likes this. He's like, I'm wanted. You know, because he never gets treated correctly. But he did here. So they were all metal bend, but Toph's students were not. And so Toph's metal bending students come to the rescue. And they capture the guards, and well, you know, they basically, you know, the bridge gets destroyed, and they're falling down, and they basically have to rescue them. Katara rescues them, rescues one of them. Aang rescues, you know, Aang basically rescues all of them, but what happens is it gets too like heavy, and Glennon basically falls to his death. Basically, not that it matters because he's the villain anyways. He would have been arrested anyways. But Katara saves Melina, and then Aang is able to save Katara and Sokka's father, and you know, clears up. Katara kind of opens up more to what's going on. And then you see the two kid waterbenders, and then they start waterbending, because now they're all happy all of a sudden. You get the Earth King. You get Sokka, Katara, Aang, Zuko, Sokka. They have a feast, and literally the last page of the story is them basically all eating at the end together. Everyone basically, even Paku and your Gran there. And then, like I said, you get this page, farewell page, basically to the fans, from the writer, who is basically done with Avatar, the comic book series. Another comic book writer and illustrator will be taking over, which, from what I've seen from the cover, I'm not really that much of a fan of the new art style. I prefer this art style way better. It looks more like the TV show, and I feel like the new one, from at least from the cover indication, I am kind of a little concerned. And like I said, this is the farewell to the illustrator, who basically just had basically all the main characters like together. And I thought this was the best one too, like, because it just looks so really cool. I mean, look at Toph right there, like, you know, you can tell like everything just looks so good. And this just, you know, it's a bittersweet thing. Because, like I said, I'm taking a little longer than I should for this, but it was just a really good story overall, and it's bittersweet because this is the end for this writer and illustrator. I got this out of my library. I actually got this, rented this from the library. Took me a while to get it because they had to order it and then ship it to their library. So I'm actually the first person who has taken it out since they purchased it because I requested it. So overall, very good book. I highly recommend reading it. It's really good. And it's the last one that Glenn Yang does. And I don't know how to say his name, though. That's the illustrator. But very good book. I went a little longer on this because it was a really good story, and this was awesome doing this sledding thing. It was a damn good book by Dark Horse. I'm still waiting for Legends of Korra to come out with a library edition book, and I hope they continue doing that with the new Avatar books that are coming out with the new artist and writer. Apparently, they also have something coming out in September, which is like a short comic book, like just a little short comic, which is called Avatar Tales, which I think is some just shorts of stuff that they did from comic book day stories, but I think it's supposed to tie in with the next story, if I'm not mistaken, in September. That art style is completely different, but yeah, it's a bittersweet story because it's the final chapter of this writer and illustrator, but they do go out with a bang. I think this one is probably right up there with the Raph. I think the Raph was the best one of all 5 of them, but I would put this one as a close second of them all. And then probably third would probably have been the one with the Zuko and his mom. But that was more convenience to us. I think that one's a little overrated because that one was more convenient for us, The Search. The Search was more convenient for us because us, the viewers, had always been asking the question about where Zuko's mom was and what was the fate of Zuko's mom. That one was a little overrated because it's answering the questions that we wanted to know, where some of these other stories kind of go into their own thing, but still, talks about, stuff that happened in the TV series. But the Search was more of a full-on mystery type story and us finding out what happened, where I feel like the Raph had the best overall. Obviously, with these illustrations, with the library edition, you get, what they're thinking, why they made that decision, or stuff that they changed, and why they changed it. Also, feats like the Toph feat that proves factually why Toph beats Gara in a battle. The Raph comic book, or the bending 150 billion tons feat. So they give you a lot of good stuff in there, and it's just awesome. Smoke and Shadow, like I would probably, like, if I had to rank these all, I'd probably do Raph, North and South, Search, Smoke and Shadows, and then I would do The Promise, because Promise was just kind of the beginning. I don't know if I had to put them in order though. Promise was good too. It's just they just upped the ante with all these other stories afterwards. It's not even funny. But yeah, what do you guys think? That was my review of the Raph, or not the Raph, the last edition for this writer and illustrator, North and South. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate. If you like this video, my reviews, please subscribe. And that's about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of here.